Alright, while I wait for the PoB community fork to update to have all the new gems and everything so I can finish off making my build guide for next league, ignore this isn't a real update, it's just crashing whenever I try to do it. While I wait, I thought I might make a quick video about how I actually put together build guides, because I haven't done that before, and I think that might be helpful for people who might look at my content and be like, okay, well, you know, how do I do this myself? Path of Exile is a game where a lot of people, like 99% of people, just copy other people's build guides, and that's one of the things I wanted to do for Ruthless. I wanted to make build guides that are detailed enough so someone can just plug and play them and enjoy the mode. But a lot of people want to make their own builds, and Ruthless can be quite daunting for that because it involves a lot of extra challenges, and there aren't many people you can look to copy build guides off and then, you know, tweak them, make them your own and stuff. So a lot of people just go in blind, and Ruthless then punishes that more because you don't have as easy a time respecking. We're going to be able to respec with gold next league, but I expect the price of that to be high, and the opportunity cost as well is high because it costs gold, and you want to use gold on other things. So you don't want to just dump all your gold into constantly respecking your tree, then you're just falling behind. So when we're making a build guide for Ruthless, the number one thing we don't want to do, and by the way, this is Path of Building, before we do anything, make sure we get the Path of Building community, go in there, just type this into Google, download your fork, get it installed, get it working. You're going to be greeted by this, though. You're going to be greeted by this. This is awful. You don't want to start here. This is the same feeling that, like, you know, when someone plays Path of Exile for the first time and then presses P and sees the tree and they're like, oh my god. You're just going to feel like that if you're trying to, like, start from the get-go, and especially if you don't have, like, much experience making build guides. If you're just going to be like, okay, let's just make a witch, and then you're just like, okay, maybe there. This is kind of a nightmare to try to, like, do this and then end up with, like, a build that feels playable, because you're going to have to, like, figure out your tree, and then you've got to figure out your skills and, like, the kind of items you expect to have, make sure your calc is correct, all yourself, all from scratch. I did a lot of creative writing when I was growing up in school, and one of the things my teachers taught me that I really remembered and internalized is the worst thing you can do when you're doing anything creative is start from a blank page. You don't want to start from square one, you don't want to start from nothing, start from something. My favorite creative writing exercise was just to steal a cool line from anything else, and then you just take the line and then you run with it, and then you write, like, what happens after that, or, like, what leads up to it. But, like, you know, you steal one bit of something, make the rest yourself. All you need really is one, like, kind of pointer like that. And for Path of Exile guides, it really helps to have a skeleton of someone else's builds and ideas before you start making your own. It gets you into the fray a lot quicker of, like, fine-tuning things. There are a few ways you can find builds on Path of Exile. One of them is by going to my channel, Allocates Beef, which you are already on if you're watching this video. But there aren't really many other channels that do build guides. You have yeah, you just don't have people who make really fleshed out, like, they don't make POBs especially, and that's what you're looking for. But there's a couple of places where you can find them. One of them is PoE Ninja. You go on PoE Ninja, this site is a gold mine. I recommend this to everyone who they're asking about, like, oh, I can't find build ideas. There are two places you can go in PoE Ninja. You go to builds, and then we can either go to, like, the Ruthless section, or you can also look at Hardcore Solo Self-Found. If you look at Hardcore Solo Self-Found, you just have to remove anything that gets crafted, because we have no bench, and adjust for different ascendancies, because we have those. Things like that. You can start from Ruthless, though, because this will list everyone who has a public character. It's going to list their character. There are so many utilities here that can help you, like, get an idea of what you want to do. Like, let's say you've read the patch notes. You've read the patch notes, and you read that, like, Sunder, which is already great, now has, like, double damage effectiveness. Why? Everything's getting buffed so much, and it's great, but, like, Sunder's the winner there. Like, Sunder's going to be fun to play. So you might want to be like, okay, I want to play Sunder. You don't want to just go to here and then be like, oh, okay, I'll be a Marauder, and then, okay, I'll add Sunder here, and then I'll start being like, what do I take here? We can skip all that. Let's just find someone else who's been playing Sunder and, like, work from them. Cool. So That's the latest snapshot. On here, on the time machine, I recommend going to like week 1. Most people who are like trying to play the game probably have their build sort of like together by week 1. You could go week 2 to like really hammer it in. And you can also look at like day 1. Oh, that's taken away. No one was playing Sunder on day 1. Observe. Okay, people had it. Yeah, no. Worth noting, main skill here, it's like 5 links. You can go all skills to see people who just like had it. So, you know, yeah, we had someone at 59 on day 1. Can eyeball that quickly. But yeah, week 1's a really good indicator. We don't necessarily have to look at people at it as a 5 link, but why is there an unascended marauder in 63? What the fuck is going on? This is the kind of stuff people see in Ruthless and people like don't take the mode seriously. There's a chieftain and there's a juggernaut. Chieftain has way more life, look at that. And actually better damage. So this guy is in the top level. Ooh, but this guy's found a bunch of uniques. This is what you want to look for as well. You want to, when you look at these characters, you want to you can immediately get an idea, especially if you've played Ruthless enough before, of like, how realistic is this? This guy's playing unarmed Sunder. He found face breakers. So this guy started out, you can actually go to the time machine on particular builds. Day 1, he found a Relentless Fury as well. Kind of wild. Dropped that quite quickly though. He was playing like one-handed Ice Crash, added fire, so interesting. So if I look at this, I'll be like, okay, maybe I won't borrow this, maybe I will, you know. This requires some specific uniques. Like Bringer of Rain is like giving him a 7 link on week 1. He's found Facebreaker, and obviously if you don't find Facebreaker, like if you don't want to build around like that, you want to build around those specific uniques, that's not what we're looking for. So I guess we'll go to this guy, and there we go. This guy has an axe. This is what I was expecting. But then week 1 again, he's found Tahuani. We might not find that. So when we grab this guy's build, we might want to think like, okay, we'll take out this, take out that. Does the build still work? Is the build still good if I don't find certain things or I can't buy certain things off trade? You want to moderate how much you're expecting to get. If you're SSF, I wouldn't build around a single unique. In SSF, generally, if you drop cool uniques, you re-roll into builds that can use the cool uniques. You don't plan it in advance. In trade, you can plan in advance. We'll talk about uniques in a second, like the unique tiers. This guy clearly has a Gravecrafted axe. Another thing to remember if you're looking at previous league, Necropolis Gravecrafting was crazy. But for melee builds, it's not like builds that were using Gravecrafted weapons aren't going to be viable anymore, because everything just got buffed quite a lot. Overall, even if you take out the totems and everything, so you can most likely use worse weapons and get better results. Especially because you don't need the uptime on those totems to do stuff, and you've got the new banners as well and stuff like that. But you can tell this is Gravecrafted because it's a 5 link with very, very good mods. That was most likely Gravecrafted. But that's fine. It's a 5 link as well. So this guy was playing Sunder. We can take this guy's build. All you have is you have a code. Go to import. URL code. It's valid. This is an older tree. This is what I was going to say. If you import anything older, you want to convert it first to 3.25. This will change a couple of things, and you've lost a lot of damage. Whoops. So this guy's lost. The reason why we just lost damage is, you can look up here, is like it's 87, but we just lost 10 passive points because some stuff moved around. So that's fine that we lost damage there. We'll find where to put them because the tree has changed a bit, but there's a bunch of stuff that's still similar. And now we have a skeleton of someone else's tree. This is nice. We can start working with this, thinking about what he's doing, why he's doing it, and what we might want to do similarly or different. Well, this guy had auras early on, didn't he? He got Dread Banner, Blood and Sand, Quick Stir, Enduring Cry. This guy found Purity of Elements. Let's just take that off so it doesn't give me a warning about mana. I can really start to break down, like, how is this guy playing Sunder? Is this how I want to play Sunder? Get some pointers, get some ideas. So he's playing Juggernaut. He's done Uberlab already. Again, we can always go back to here and see what he was taking earlier on. So before Uberlab, he was doing Unstoppable, Unbreakable, and Untiring. So he took Unflinching for Uberlab. Oh, what we haven't done yet as well is we have not clicked the magic button here that says Ruthless. Convert. Cool. Haven't really lost much. He's not taking any damage note on Juggernaut. He's doing pure tank. you could be taking undeniable. I don't know what's his accuracy rating like without. He's not taking any off because he's resolute technique. Big deciding point for the value builds. Do you go resolute technique? Do you go precise technique? That's a whole different like discussion. So looking at what he's done here is like obviously like he's taking this stuff early in Act 1. Nice Constitution here. He's gone all the way over here just to get life and mana leech. That's like 4 points for leech, which is kind of rough. The cool thing about this is like we can immediately like, if you think that looks rough, okay, let's just say as mana. You don't need to know the tree, you can just search for things like, okay, I can take off this and I can go here. And this also gives me mana reservation if I want to take it later. I won't need that early. But boom, now I've already saved points again. And what, like, okay, we'll require level 75 now. We look around here. He's taking Soul of Steel, understandable. Taking Executioner. Executioner's like, I don't like Executioner. I mean, it gives AoE. I usually just take Wrecking Ball. But you see how already, like, we can start just playing with this guy's tree now instead of, like, just trying to, like, work it out all from scratch, because we've got an idea of damage that he has. Yeah, this is a 600 DPS axe. What you can do as well is, like, let's just, like, we just plug in some, like, 400 DPS axe. And then you can also POB for your realistic damage by using, like, if we go back to here, Sunder has 629% up from here. That's basically double, right? That's basically double. So if I take... We could also just grab, like, yeah, Sinvictors. This is like a commonly dropping axe. We'll just put this as a placeholder. It's not like we're building around Sinvictors, but it gives us Rampage, and everyone loves Rampage. Okay, so our DPS just went down. However, I'm just gonna get this count here. I'm gonna say 2 because we're doubling our damage basically due to the extra effectiveness. And let's go to full DPS, and you know, that's where we're at now. And this build is doing like 250,000 damage on a 5-link. It's not very good single target right now, but like we'll slowly grow that out. There's also this guy's determination as well. Let's just take off auras. We have to take off Ancestral Protector though, which is going to drop our damage a bit because that's gone. Oh, and Berserk is ticked. You see this, and this is the point where like I'm looking at this guy, and you know you keep working with it, keep building. We're only on level 76, so we can take more damage nodes that we haven't taken yet. You know, we can take. Feller of Foes is all the way over there now. Hatchet Master is all the way over here. There must be some like good, decent DPS nodes. Is he running Fortify support? Is he running Fortified support? No. You might want to take Fortify as well. So now we're Fortified. For more EHP. We still got more points to spend before the... But yeah, he was at 87. And it was doing alright with the build if you can get to 87, so it's not like it's not playable. But this isn't as much damage as I would be looking for, like especially on like the reworked belly and stuff. There's the problem with resolute technique, because if you can invest into accuracy to some degree, you can go precise technique. So this can take. It's not like plug and play. It's not just like, oh, you find someone else's build and you're just like, oh, it's great. You might find like there are a bunch of things that people are doing that you like, and a bunch of things they're doing that you don't like, but it gives you ideas to work through. We can look for a few more Sunder builds. I'm not going to do that now, but like you can just start going through like what other people are doing for Sunder, and then how they get their damage and whatnot. Take off the gloves as well. More damage when they're on low life because of Executioner. So that's what you can do. This is what I'll usually do if I'm looking for build ideas on PoE Ninja, is I'll go through lots of different POBs. Doesn't take too long just to fiddle around quickly and be like, okay, this guy has damage, this guy doesn't really have damage, why not? So on and so forth. Chapter the Cause is kind of shit now, huh? So let's forget we ever saw that. Oh, my builds. That's one place you can look for ideas, and you can look to see how the people like scale their builds to the end game. So like this guy in the end game he got Ulnator's Kiss. He's got Dawnstrider. This isn't realistic. He has a replica Headhunter. That's very cool. This guy played the league. I mean, he probably stopped playing after like week 3. It looks like he didn't really get much more experience after. Yeah, he's just got 1 level. But still, again, like the DPS, the estimate DPS isn't always accurate, but it's not for a 6 link as well. Maybe you can do better. What you want to look out for though as well, while we're at it, like let's say I really want to play. Where's my summoner? Let's say I want to play Deadeye, and I don't care what I want to play on Deadeye, and you can look at all the like how people are doing. Like, you know, Deadeye's like something people have raced ahead on. Maybe Warden is better than Deadeye now. There's, you know, the new ascendancy. But you can look at how like the top Deadeyes are doing early on, and there's some really good pointers here. So this guy's got like 4 links for like lightning arrow. He's got his artillery ballista. This isn't like a very good bow, but he's blasting. He's having a good time. There's the tree again. You can import this, fiddle around with that as well. You want to look out for things like this though, like, I don't know, like down here this guy's level 51, and then he's got like multiple like very synergistic uniques, and then on day 2 he's like found like even more synergistic. Like, that doesn't feel very realistic to me, and that tells me that they've got like a lot of help from someone else somehow on the items they're getting. The last thing you want to do is look at this, especially if you're not used to Ruthless, and be like, oh, by level 51 I'll find a few uniques. I might not find a support gem by the time I'm level 70. You've got to really plan around that, and that's why it's good to like see that, like, you know, you want to see that how people's builds will scale up in like week 1, but you can also see how they level across the days and how it goes. The good thing is, if you're planning to play melee, it's going to be a lot smoother now. The extra damage effectiveness, more damage from quality, banners are going to be available as quest rewards, so that's another damage amp being provided that isn't requiring any drops or anything, which is cool. The other place you can find fully formed builds to start having ideas, again, none of this is plug and play. This requires your creativity to take the thing and then mess around with the thing and figure out what you want to do with the thing. But you can take one Divine Challenge build. This comes with the caveat that these are not Ruthless builds, so you have to like PoB them for Ruthless. Instead, you have to change things, and you have to be on the lookout for any crafted modifiers that we can't get, any ascendancy passive stuff that goes away in Ruthless, stuff like that. And I've actually, like, this is a great example because I started out with this video. Thank you, Mr. Reward, for your double strike of Impelling Champion, 1 Div challenge. This is the concept I started with to make my league starter. For him, it's a champion. Granted, this has been through like several iterations. Started out as a champion, and now it's a gladiator after the buffs. I'm not using the Bringer of Rain because I like body armor, and they just buffed. Bringer of Rain's really bad now. They buff body armors by a lot. You can get a lot more life, a lot more armor. And again, there's some things here like there's an vulnerability in presence, which could be a chase item, but it's not very reliable. Perseverance is a bit, it's obtainable, but again, it's like you want to probably take that out. Things like this though are very cool to see. I love seeing replica uniques. These are very target farmable if you play Heist, and even if you don't, if you're on trade and other people are playing Heist, you'll be able to get them. And we saw contracts coming in from the shipments in the league mechanic. And historically, for the last couple of leagues, we have been able to get access to bonus content within the league mechanic in Ruthless, despite that being like something that wasn't what, you know, it's like Ruthless is like you do Delirium for Delirium, you do Legion for Legion. But, you know, last league, All Flames gave us all sorts of shit, and then Affliction, the Wildwood had Harvest, they had Beyond and stuff. So it looks like we might have Heist access, more Heist access through the lead mechanic, which is very cool because it makes things like this very obtainable. And Replica Wings is like, it's not like a insane weapon, but it has a lot of cool synergies, which I'll talk about when I start like gushing about the build I'd be able to put together. You can already probably tell how this is going to be cool on the Gladiator though, because it counts as dual wielding, but it's a two-handed weapon, heyo, and it has extra like big crit chance and all that shit. But this is actually, this is the build I started with, and I was able to like slowly, I would not have been able to make a cool Gladiator double strike build, double strike of Impaling, without starting from this point. I mean, I'll credit this guide when I make the guide fully and make the notes and everything. And it's been through so many changes. I'm not gonna show it. I'm not gonna show the actual like finished product now, but like this whole area here, I'm not taking any of this, and stuff moves around. I take block stuff and and after the buffs, it comes out as more DPS than this. And again, we can look over this as like all he has is crafted life mods here, so that's fine because we can just like try to find gear with life. There's nothing like standing out otherwise that's like, oh my god, I can't run this. You take out leap slam obviously because we don't have that. We're gonna lose like the totems, but in return, I don't know why this guy has multiple totems, but there's no ancestral war chief. Things like that are funny as well. You can look for things like that. Banner's different as well. That's changed. Here's vitality and arrogance. And there's the pride, blasphemy, vulnerability of blasphemy we take out because we're not using in presence. Unless you want to, like, you know, we've dropped blasphemy support and you want to run vulnerability, it's cool, but I think Poacher's Mark is a lot better. Poacher's Mark gives you frenzy charges, it's very cool. That's part of the process, right? And there's not a crazy number of these 1 div challenges, but there are little ideas you can find. Again, just plug in what other people are finding enough success with without too much gear, and then add your own magic, add your own like investigation onto saying like, okay, well, you know, the PoB tells you the numbers, it's very nice, so it's going to tell you that, like, you know, if I take off this, that's like I lose 11% damage, but I can go over here and take this and it's like the same number of points, it's 14% more damage, so that's better, and you can just like fit the pieces. It's like a little puzzle game. This is like a game in and of itself. It's very fun if that's your sort of thing, and if it's not, you just want to spend a bit of time just like throwing stuff around and say, well, will this work? And if it works, then cool, then play it and have fun. But it's better, I think. You can just go into Ruthless blind, obviously, and if you find that more fun, then power to you, but I always think it's better to like have an idea of what you're doing in advance, and then you can always change that dramatically depending on what drops. That makes drops still very fun because you can drop like GG stuff for another build, and then you're like, screw it, I do a whole new thing. But yeah. So the patch notes, like, I'm sure a lot of us have read the patch notes, and this is going to give you a pointer to like the kind of skills you want to be running. Someone made a nice little comparison here of what melee skills have gained the most damage. So you see right at the top here, double strike of impaling. Gained all the extra added effectiveness and lost no flat damage. It didn't have any to begin with. It has impaled chance and effect baked into the skill, and that has not been removed. This looks really good. And you'll see like weird stuff like, oh my god, chain hook does like way more damage now and stuff. Maybe I can, you know, like there's cool ideas here. And the last thing you want to do is see a cool thing like, oh my god, like, you know, sweep got a massive buff, so I will try to make a sweep build, and you try to make it on your own and you spend like 2 hours trying to pull the pieces together and it's doing like 50k damage on a 6 link, and you're like, why? So yeah, as I said, I think it's better to like start from people. You can play, more people play hardcore solo self-found. So you can look at like week 1 builds here, maybe like day 3 or something. Yeah, people level up way faster in normal mode. See if anyone's playing sweep. Okay, no one plays sweep. There's a berserker again. Like, this is like, you know, they might say, oh, there's a berserker, but we don't want to play berserker in Ruthless. Berserker is not an ascendancy in Ruthless. Even it kind of received a slight buff from the changes to rage and stuff actually, but it's still not. It's not an ascendancy. And the last thing I want to talk about here, I think, is when we're talking about like uniques. If you're playing Trade League, again, this is, you know, if you're playing SSF, if something cool drops, decide if you want to work with it or shelve it for another potential character, accumulate some stuff. You might have a little stash going of like, oh, I have all the bits, I have Herald of Agony and some poisons, and this is unique here, and maybe I could make this kind of poison build later. You know, build that up. If you're playing Trade League though, you can plan around uniques. I hate it when I see people say, oh, Ruthless is like, a Ruthless PoB should be no auras, no support gems, no uniques, no bitches. No. You can plan around a lot of stuff. You will find support gems. You will eventually find certain auras. Some are just more chase auras than others. Here, basically all you're looking for here is like, the last time this was all tested was 3.23. A lot of tiers haven't changed too much. I'm surprised they don't have full numbers for 3.24. But generally GGG, unless a unique, if a unique has been massively buffed, then you can expect it to like go up tiers quite a lot. Otherwise, these numbers are pretty stable. They've been stable for the last couple of leagues in general. So when I played Volcanic Fissure of Staking last league, I built around Count's Primacy. It's a tier 4 axe. I dropped like 4 or 5 of them myself during the league, and they were regularly available on trade. It took a couple of days to be able to, like, you know, have one shift, because on the first like few days of the league, everything's a lot more like, you know, like, well, I'm the only person who has this, so you can give me 1 billion divine orbs for it, you know, 1 billion alchemy orbs if you want, you know. But yeah, I built around this because if this had said like tier 3 or 2, I'd be like, but it's a tier 4 axe. So I felt like that's a build around. Whereas like you might look at, you know, Katava's Feast, which is a tier 1, and you're like, no, you don't want to build around Katava's Feast. You may never see Katava, you know, it might be a very long time. And building around a unique partly means you look at the specific interactions it has. Like Calm's Primacy gives you physical damage as extra fire damage per rage. Comes with built-in culling strike. We didn't care about the crit. We didn't on our build when we played Volcanic Fissure. We were going precise technique. Oh, no, we were going resolute. We went resolute technique. But that extra physical damage, as extra fire per rage, maybe we could stack rage and have a massive amount of flat fire on top of the physical damage of the weapon. It's a slower weapon, but we built around that with the war cries. That's the kind of idea, right? You might, you know, you can look again and see what's, you know, common things here, common things there. You can have some ideas. When you're in PoB, you know, you have this, like, you can select any unique. You can actually, yeah, let me just import an old build for this purpose. Let me just go to, like, I don't know, what was I playing in Lake of Kalandra? I was playing Molten Strike Assassin, great. This is not a Ruthless build. You can sort by, let's say I want to see DPS. Oh my god, it's going to take a while to load, isn't it? Full DPS. Oh, I did 40. I was doing 40 million damage back then. That's cool. That's very fun to know. Never seen those numbers for a while, but you know, we play Ruthless now. And so you can see from this, it's like, oh, okay, you know, if I can get Original Sin, you know, I can get 0.1. That's okay, uniques do not. This is a bad idea. There aren't any unique, but you can see it sorts it by full DPS and stuff. Like you can pick like slot types and stuff like that. You see if there's any other things you can look for, and then you can look at the tier of them when you're planning your build. And if you find that, like, oh, there's a tier 4, there's a tier 5 unique that gives me a bunch of cool damage, then you might want to think about building around it. Tier 3 is like, and then tier 2 and above is like, no. But if you drop one cool, then you know, you can have it in mind. Varanastra is a very strong example of this, because loads of people are building around this for Gladiator and Bench League, but in Ruthless, it's gonna be very hard to find one. It's a tier 2 unique. But if you find, you can always keep it in mind for builds. If you think about like, oh, that would be very good for my shield crush Gladiator or shield throw Gladiator or something. Because it gives you all the one-handed weapon types for Gladiator's new weapon master thing. This one. It gives all these bonuses, which is very cool. But it's a tier 2. So it's the kind of, you want to think about, like, I probably will never get this, but I could always keep it in the back burner in my head, and I can always, like, what you can do as well is when you go on trade is, okay, Ruthless Acropolis. I can always just type in, when I'm later in the league and I'm carrying like a bunch of money, I can always like spend my days just, you know, I search for it. Oh, look at this guy. He had one. He never sold it. It has appeared. See, there is hope. There is hope to the world. There are 2 of them that have appeared. I wonder if this is another indicator. You can just look at like in trade, like Varunash. That's not a good sign. No one was using it. So during the entire league, it looks like we got 2 of them, unless anyone vended them. So if you really want one, your best bet is to like put a live search on and then just like keep that in the background. But again, as I'm emphasizing, it's not something you can build around necessarily, but it's good to keep in mind as like a bit of like something to get excited about. Like, you know, we don't just get excited about headhunters and mage blood here. There's loads of cool little uniques we might want to find. You know, I think I did once find a Cospre's Malice in Ruthless, actually. I found a Mjolnir. What rarity is Mjolnir? Mjolnir is tier 2. Yeah, I got a Mjolnir from a nameless seer last league. Never did anything with it. I sold it to someone for a good price. And then you got things like, oh, Rakiata's Dance, like tier 0. That's just Mage Blood rarity. But yeah, this list is really good. If you're like trying to fiddle around with builds, I'd bookmark this and then just like give it reference, because you can think about unique items if you play Ruthless Trade. See how Invictus Metal, that's a tier 5 axe, so we're gonna get like, you're gonna see a bunch of those, and that's a good benchmark. That's like an entry-level mapping axe. It like goes up from there, kind of thing. So you can put that into your two-handed axe melee POBs. That is that's most of the cliff notes. That's most of what I wanted to talk about. Like just like general like process. I just want to highlight these things because I think a lot of the time, a lot of like people getting builds for Path of Exile end up just like copying something as much as possible of someone else, and you don't think about like just how many resources you have that display what people are finding success with and how you can adapt those yourself. POB is not as complex as it looks, really, because as I said, let's just go back to something up to date. Let's say, you know, I was trying to POB an Ice Crash of Cadence Slayer to try to make Slayer worth playing. It was not worth playing, actually. It was awful. This skill I think did get some numerical buffs though, so this DPS looks a bit better. This character is just made of paper, and this is a dual wield character, so I can probably just run this on a gladiator now for like better effect. And you see here, like, this POB back then, this is back before they, Dawn Strider's reworked now, ignore that one, obviously, we're not going to have that. But most of these uniques are very accessible. I mean, Carcass Jack is a bit more aspirational, that was like a luxury item, I can take that off. Frost Breath, though, you know, you're going to look at Frost Breath. Frost Breath is a tier 4 item, we can build around that. It's a really good build around, actually. It does a fuck ton of damage, as if we can add flat damage via, like, various sources. And Bitter Dream as well. Bitter Dream is a tier 3, so a bit harder, a bit more, a slightly more chase item, but like very valuable. The tech I was doing here, I'll just talk about this quickly, is you put Ice Crash of Cadence in the Bitter Dream and it gets all the bonuses. It works with all these gems. And because Ice Crash of Cadence, your damage only comes from like your main hand weapon, really. It's 80% more damage with main hand weapon. It just becomes this kind of close range melee skill where you have like a 1, 2, 3, you have like a 9 link with level 15 gems, to be fair, but it's technically a 9 link, and you still have your main hand weapon actually dealing damage, which is Frost Breath. And you have things like Southbound where you're, you know, extra cold damage to attacks, which is really good. I was running Dawn Strider obviously, but then the totems don't do anything anymore. I was able to put this together from someone else's. I can't remember, like I probably googled like Ice Crash of Cadence. You can just Google what people are doing as well in like Bench League, and then 3.24. Yeah, it came from this guy, I remember now, Dennis, because he obviously, you know, said, okay, we're not going to do 300 million damage, but this guy made loads of videos for this character. League Starter, there we go. I think I took it from this version. Oop. And then you'll see here, like, you know, it's like Ishimonji plus Paradoxica. He's doing 16 million damage. He's got some of these items. I took this build, I took out all the jewels. I changed this for Frost Breath, because that's a lot more accessible. I took out Heat Shiver. Actually, I think, no, it wasn't this video. It must have been a different video. No. Someone was using the Bitter Dream tech. I'm pretty sure it was this guy who was using the Bitter Dream tech. Maybe it's like a different no, he doesn't have multiple gear configs. Anyway, I found it somewhere. I didn't work that out on my own. I'm not going to take credit and be like, I figured out that you can put this. I saw someone else do it and I was like, that's really cool. And so I ran with that, and it was kind of exciting to like POB for a while. I just couldn't make the character tanky enough to justify playing it. Like, it might look tanky, but this is with like the guard skill on. This is with like steel skin on. If you turn off steel skin, the character's made of fucking paper. It does have a 100% chance to suppress spell damage. It's not like the worst thing in the world, but like it just doesn't have like good armor, good physical mitigation's like pretty lacking. I really didn't like it enough. I went through like a few different like tree variations as well. Like this one was even worse. And so it doesn't feel like wasted effort or time, even though I'm not going to play this build, because it was fun to explore it, and it's something I might come back to later. Ice Crash of Cadence might actually be a good build for the next league because of the melee buffs. But yeah, even with all these, like, I can get all these uniques within the first week, and this build works. You can just run it like run the skill as a 4 or 5 link properly with like a real like offhand until you get Bitter Dream kind of thing. You know, you modify things like that. The last thing you want to think about as well is like whenever you plug it in someone else's build, you need to make sure you look at the configuration. double check for anything that's like dodgy. Make sure you're on like Guardian or Pinnacle, but you can just, you know, obviously you're not doing Pinnacles like constantly in Ruthless, but this is a good measure of like how your DPS will end up stacking up if you try to do Eater or Exarch, which is the real goal. Like, you don't need crazy amounts of damage to like push through the Atlas. But you see I'm here, like, you know, there's a mastery we're taking here for increased damage per second frozen, and you'll look in some builds that they just like put this on max like by default, but that takes time to ramp, so like 2 or 3 seconds is probably like more realistic. You want to double check that like you actually have a source of exposure to cold. Yes, we do. Things like that, you know. I can just click, you know, I don't have to intimidate click, we have Belt of the Deceiver, but let's say if I wasn't running Belt of the Deceiver and then I can just like click like intimidate, I just lost precise technique. I can click this anyway, but not have a source for it. You want to just make sure, like, it's like you gotta police the build a bit, because a lot of people will leave stuff in. I hold my hands up because I can't remember which build it was I was doing a build guide for, and I spent most of the video with adrenaline ticks by accident. I just misclicked it at some point, and the DPS was inflated from for most of the video because I just like, oh, I just have adrenaline because I just have adrenaline, you know, like just, you know, just adrenaline. I did not have a source of adrenaline. If they have charges, make sure they have a source of charges. Look at, you know, make sure the stance is correct based on what you actually plan to be doing. Anything in red isn't going to apply, even if you're like, you know, doesn't change anything. I think I kept rage in here for just to check what rage support might do for DPS. See, because rage support is pretty good for DPS on this build, although that's changing next league, so that doesn't matter. Bear in mind now, like, loads of gems are changing. Double check, you know, your gems. Double check your things. You know, this Ice Crash of Cadence is like doing like, what's the effectiveness on Ice Crash of Cadence actually? Because it's like almost double damage, you know. This build is like, look at that go. So this build is decent. This is fine. I'm happy with, like, previously I'd be like 1 million DPS on a 5 link and I can play the game, and I'm looking like 2 to 3 billion DPS on most melee builds now. I have to take off Ancestral War Tube though. There we go, down to 2. Yeah, see, you know, it's you know, we take out this. This means we can run like real boots instead of Dawn Strider at least. This kind of fiddling is what I do for fun when I'm bored. And you see we're running Poacher's Mark on here, it's correct. This build has Hatred, Precision. Hatred's getting changed, so we've got to bear that in mind, but it's getting a lot of more like more fizz converted to extra cold, which is probably better for this build. I don't know, we'll have to see. Arctic Armor. Movement skill. Endurance charges on melee stun, because that works with it. It's kind of nice. Little tech with extra endurance charges while mapping. Vengeance for no reason. That's getting removed. This could be a retaliation skill, maybe. And then, like, what we could probably do is, instead of like running like instead of running Slayer, I just go to Gladiator. I just lost half my damage because Slayer gives like a lot of damage, but I can gain this attack speed. I can get double chance to block. I can probably rework this tree to give me like more chance to block. I mean, right now I am actually capping on chance to block. That's surprising. Really? Okay, that's broken. This is just giving 50% chance to block, even though I'm not running a shield. Oh, POV and your experimental builds, that's not how it works. Okay, we can't really like POV that properly right now. But, you know, like if I take War of Attrition, I can just say, like, you know, it's not going to be 50% more damage immediately. Enemy presence duration, it's, you know, after 100, you know, after 100 seconds, this is the damage you're doing, and suddenly, like, oh, we have the same bossing DPS effectively as the Slayer, but the defenses are better. And we can do Weapon Master, because we have Weapon Master just gives us AoE. It's not like 10% more over effect isn't like the worst node, but like you might want to probably just take Measure Retaliation and work with a retaliation skill or something. I don't know. This is a bit funky if we're using these 2 weapons, obviously. Okay. Yeah, that's just another example of us tweaking stuff, you know. And if I'm going like spell block, maybe I don't take suppression on this character, and instead I just like invest in all the block stuff, you know. I just free some points up. Whenever you're making your tree is always a balance between offense and defense. You always want to have like a source of like, okay, how am I killing things and how am I not dying? And there's like a really good balancing act. Oh, Vow Pact is changing as well, so we're not doing leech either, so we can just take all this off, which is cool. And if I'm not playing Slayer, I might be doing like Frenzy Child. You know, the whole build starts to change, you know. And now that, you know, like I have loads more points to throw around in different places, so I can find other stuff I want to do here and there. No, I'm not going to say that, but yeah, that's that's the general gist of it. I just got on probably on like another long tangent after like trying to wrap up the video. Look at PoE Ninja. Look at build ideas. You know, if you want to. What the fuck? Why does this guy have 11,000? Oh, that's the aura. It's a flame link guy. I remember him. I tried to sell him something once. You know, get your path of building. Go on here. Check your YouTube videos for like really budget league starters from Bench League, and then just like modify anything that has weird interactions with stuff we don't get in Ruthless. Keep an eye on like what the tiers are for uniques and whatever. That's generally it. If you start applying these things, you have a much better time building your own like build guides and ideas and stuff. You don't necessarily have to put out build guides, you know, but you can have better grasp of what you are expecting to do, expecting to find, and so on and so forth. Yeah, that's really. I'll give a quick preview of this. I'll give a quick preview of how this build is looking. You know, like hasn't been updated. Yeah, you know, like this. Damn it. It's a bit deceptive, but it's also not. This build like basically gets this degree of block chance. It's kind of crazy. Okay, I will now wait for the path of building update.